Today, friends, I'm going to show you how to turn these hot chilies into this pepperoncini sott'olio, hot chilies in oil. Everyone, welcome back to Garden and Grub. My name is Mariana and I'm just picking some more chilies. I left a few on the plant just so they can go red and I can pick them for seeds for next year. These are Calabrian chilies. These are Italian chilies, and I've already picked some and they're inside in the refrigerator, so I just wanted to grab a few more because today we're gonna make pepperoncini hot peppers in oil, the traditional way, our family's heritage recipe that I'm going to pass on to you. So let's go inside. So we're back inside, have the chilies. So basically what I want to show you is how to turn these into this, a traditional heritage Italian recipes of hot chilies in oil. This is my most famous video to date, and it gets constantly watched, my most watched video every single month. Now, I want to show you this. There's a lot more people on the channel, and I want to share this recipe because it's pepper time where I live. And I want to show you how you can take all of your peppers, whether they're green or red, and how you can preserve them all winter long. So this is an Italian chilies, and they're preserved in oil. In here, there's a mix of chilies. You could use habaneros, you could use jalapenos, you could use whatever chilies you want. They don't even have to be hot. You could use like Jimmy Nardello's, which are a sweet pepper. So whatever peppers you have, you can use this. And we put this on top of pasta. If you want to fry something, like if you're doing a stir fry even, you could put a spoonful of this, but majority of the time we put this on top of our food. So this would sit on the table. If we're having rice, my husband will take a spoonful, put it on top of his rice or on top of his pasta or his spaghetti, whatever, on top of his potatoes. He just loves this stuff. He sticks it on everything. It's too hot for me, so I just kind of dip my fork in this oil and then just do like a light drizzle, but he will actually take spoonfuls of this and put it on his food. I'm gonna link the original video that went viral in the description below if you want to hear the story about this recipe, so you can watch that. And I'm just going to do a shorter condensed version of just doing the recipe here. So if you want the long version, go over and watch that video. If you just want the how-to, stay tuned and we're just going to do it. Okay, so over the past week or so, I've been collecting all of these peppers. More here and here, more here. I got some habaneros here. So you're just gonna take your chilies. I have sweet in here too, but I'm just gonna pick out all the hot chilies and give them a wash. So go ahead, grab your chilies, give them a wash, and we'll get ready to prep. I'm just going to start with this bowl of chilies, and I'm just going to give them a good wash. Make sure they're clean. I needed to do this today because you want your chili peppers to be in good condition. Otherwise, if you keep them too long in the fridge, they kind of go wrinkly and they're not as good. So you kind of want to do them when they're nice and crisp. Now, if you stay till the end, I had so many questions about add-ins and that sort of thing on my last video. So what I'm going to do today, at the end of this video, I'm going to answer some of those questions. So please watch the whole video, and I may just be able to answer some of your questions. Let's talk about what you'll need today for the recipe. So you'll need some hot chilies, clean mason jars, kosher salt, pickling salt or sea salt, your choice of oil. This is light olive oil. I don't recommend an extra virgin olive oil because the flavor is too strong for the peppers. So a light olive oil, avocado oil, a neutral type oil. You could use, if these are out of your budget and avocado oil's out of your budget, go ahead and use vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, corn oil, whatever oil. You need a type of oil. Stay away from strong pungent oils. You want a nice neutral oil. Now, this is a heritage recipe. So let's think back of how they would have preserved food when they didn't have refrigeration or storage capabilities. They would have had cold cellars, which we call cantinas. They would have used olive oil, and they would have used a sea salt. I'm using kosher salts today because that's what I have, but they would have used a sea salt and a non-iodinized salt. So let's begin by chopping up our clean washed peppers. Make sure you wear gloves because hot peppers are spicy, and make sure you don't touch anything that you don't want to burn. Do not touch any open orifices or skin for that matter. You'll also need some saran wrap and a glass bowl. Use a ceramic or glass bowl. If you have one that has a lid, that's fantastic. If not, go ahead and use saran wrap. If you don't want to use plastic, you can use just a plate that you can put on top to cover. So there's a little story about this specific recipe. You can watch my other video for that. I won't go into detail. So now we're just going to trim, or not trim, but slice up all your peppers. Oh, these smell hot. And then you can put them in the bowl that you have here. We won't be needing the mason jar today. This recipe is in 3 steps. It takes 3 days to make. So day 1, we're just washing, chopping up the vegetables, and you'll need your salt for day 1. And that's it. So just chop them all up. Don't worry about taking the seeds off. You're just going to put them in your bowl. Cut them in kind of like bite-sized bits that you would like put on your spoon when you're eating. So like just bite-sized pieces. This is a good way to use up all your hot peppers at the end of the season, because you can use all your red ones and your green ones. You have an abundance of peppers. You have no idea what you want to do with them. This is a perfect way to preserve them for you to use all winter. Okay, so now we have all of our peppers chopped. Isn't that beautiful? Look at all the different shades of green and red, orange. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Next, you're gonna take your salt And we're going to liberally sprinkle and stir this. The reason why we're doing that is so we can pull the water out of the peppers, pull all that moisture out, because we are preserving. So we're pulling out all the moisture. Once we do that, we are going to replace it with straight vinegar. And that acidification is what helps to preserve this recipe. So let's do that now. Now, I hope you can see, I moved you over here so we can get a better view, but I'm gonna take large spoonfuls and put it into the bowl. And we're going to liberally cover this. Now, don't panic with the salt because it's going to get washed off. Its only purpose is to withdraw moisture. That's its only purpose. It doesn't season. It doesn't do anything other than pull out the moisture. So liberally put salt. You're gonna think you're putting too much, but you can't oversalt this. Give it a good stir so all the peppers get coated. Now you're gonna get yourself some saran wrap and cover this, because this is gonna make your kitchen spicy smelling. So just cover it in saran wrap like that. If you don't want to use plastic, go ahead and get yourself a plate and rest the plate on top, whatever, just to have this covered. So now we're going to leave this to macerate. It's going to withdraw a lot of liquids for 24 hours. If you're busy and you leave it longer than 24 hours, you leave it for 2 days, that's just fine. The point is we want to withdraw all of the moisture from inside of the peppers. So we'll pick up tomorrow, see you same time, same place in my kitchen, and we'll do step 2. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen for day 2. So you have had your hot peppers macerating with the salt, and it should release some liquid, and I'll show you for 24 hours. If you're using like thicker walled peppers, for example, like a jalapeno, go ahead and leave it for 48 hours because they're thicker walled and they draw out, but most hot peppers are thin walled, so 24 hours is fine. So I'm going to show you the liquid that has come out of these peppers. So this is what they should look like 24 hours later. And you'll notice there'll be liquid in the bottom down there. See? Don't worry if there's only just a tiny bit of liquid, because some peppers don't have, they're more like a dryer, so they don't have as much liquid, but you should have a little bit of liquid. Now, like I said before, the reason why we're salting them and drawing out the liquid is for preservation purposes. So we're gonna pull out the moisture and we're going to replace that moisture with straight up vinegar, 5% or higher. You could use 7% or 5 pickling vinegar, 7%. Wine vinegars are 7%, and your standard household vinegar is 5%. So now we're going to replace this water with something that's acidic, and that will help it to preserve and prevent things like botulism and that sort of thing. So it will help with prevention purposes. So now I'm just going to strain this and give it a rinse, because we want to wash off that salt. We're not soaking them in water. We're just giving them a rinse to get that salt off, because you don't want a salty pepper, because we used quite a bit of salt. So I got my handy dandy strainer. Oh, Just fell in the sink. Real life people. Let me put this in the sink because I only got 2 hands. So I'm just gonna dump these out. I'm gonna rinse this bowl because we're gonna reuse it. And there's, you know, like liquid and salt in there. So I'm just rinsing out this bowl. Woo! I can smell the hotcha mama. Okay, now I'm just gonna give, let's see if I can show you. Ooh, hot. I'll give these a rinse. Woo-wee. Hot stuff. Woo. You're gonna be coughing up a storm, I tell you. Give them a little shake. And I'm just gonna, I'm telling you, it's hot. These Calabrian chilies, mwah. Can't imagine people that are gonna use like ghost peppers or habaneros for this. I'm just gonna let them strain for a little bit. I'm just gonna give it like an hour and we'll be back. If you have bugs or insects where you live, I'm in zone 5 in Southern Ontario, Canada. So right now there isn't really any mosquitoes or anything, but if you have like fruit flies or anything like that in your house, because it's just gonna be resting and you don't wanna eat those later, just cover it loosely with a towel while they drain, just to prevent anything from going inside. We are back. Now stay tuned to the end of the video because the original video, which I linked down below, and other viewers had some questions on additions and the process, etc. So I will do a question answer period at the end of the video to answer any questions that were asked or you may have. If you have any further questions, feel free to put them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. So now that they've been they were rinsed and I allowed them to drain, I'm going to show you. You grab your chilies and we're going to put them back into that ceramic bowl. Make sure you get every little one. Now the next step is we're going to be submerging our chilies in vinegar. So go ahead and get your regular vinegar. This is pure white vinegar, and this is 5% acidity. In Italy, they would have used this back in the day, wine vinegar, because everybody made wine. And it was easily and readily accessible. Now, the one thing with wine vinegar, it is actually 6% acidity, 6 to 7% acidity. This one here is 6%. So it's actually stronger than your pure white vinegar. And it gives it a light fruity taste. So I recommend white vinegar. If you use red wine vinegar, it's going to taste, it's not going to taste, it's going to change the color because it will turn it like an awful looking color. The green will pick, the red chilies will look nice, but the green ones kind of turn a weird color if you use red vinegar. Now you're going to use bottled vinegar where you know the acidity level. Back in the day, they didn't have that. They just used what they made. But we live in modern times and we have proper ingredients readily available. So go ahead and either use white vinegar, white wine vinegar, or your standard white vinegar. Now, if you're doing a lot of chilies, like a whole bunch of them, we're talking about pints and pints and pints of them, go ahead and use the white vinegar, just because it can be a little bit pricey to buy white wine vinegar. I think this one was $3 for the bottle, where this is like $3 for the entire, how many liters is this? 4 liters. So I'm gonna, since I don't have that much, I'm gonna use wine vinegar. If I can open the bottle. So you want to have these submerged completely in the vinegar. You can mix the vinegars, so if you still want that fruity taste, if you still want the fruity taste of wine vinegar, because it is a little sweet, you can mix, you can use your whole bottle and then mix the rest with white vinegar. As long as your chilies are completely submerged. Alrighty, they are submerged. Take your plastic wrap or your plate, have it covered. Have this covered, and we're gonna leave it for another 24 hours. If you're using thick-walled peppers like a jalapeno or a serrano, go ahead and leave it for 48 hours, completely submerged in this vinegar. So I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you tomorrow. Hi everybody, welcome to day 3, the final portion of this recipe. So your peppers should have been soaking for 24 hours or for 48 hours, depending if you're using thick-walled peppers, because we really want to penetrate the flesh of the chilies with the vinegar. So I'm just taking it off and I'm going to show you what they look like. So this is what they will look like. The color would have changed just slightly. Now I'm going to drain this vinegar, but feel free to keep this vinegar. Put it in a bottle. You can use it for salad dressing. You can use it in place, like if you're doing like fish and chips and you put malt vinegar on your chips or your fish, you can use this as well. So you can keep the vinegar, just put it in a bottle to save for later. But I'm going to drain this because this is a little, vinegar's too spicy for me. So I won't be using the vinegar, but you can use the vinegar. So I'm just gonna drain this here in my sink. Now, that's what they look like. I'm just letting them drip. You can see it's dripping. Just gonna let them drip for a few minutes while we talk. So now you're gonna get clean jars. You can sterilize them inside your dishwasher or boil them, wash them with hot soap water. You just want to make sure that they are clean because we are not boiling these jars. They are just going to be placed in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the chilies in here. There we go. I got a funnel. Now it's okay if there's still a little bit vinegar in here because this is straight vinegar. So this is going to help with preserving it. So we're going to put a little bit in there like that. And now I'm going to put a little bit of oil. I just went to get a chopstick. I'm gonna move that to that jar, and I just want to show you. Now for your oil options, you can use olive oil. I don't recommend a extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. It's the flavor is very intense and it will overpower the flavor of your chilies. So I would suggest a light olive oil, but you can use it. Just be mindful that if you put this in an area where it's cold, like your fridge or cold cellar, the olive oil will solidify. You can use avocado oil. You can use, this is canola oil. You can use vegetable oil, corn oil, whichever oil, a neutral tasting oil. You don't want anything that's going to be overpowering. Now, I'm going to talk about questions that I had about oil options, but for now, we're just putting this together. So I got my light olive oil here. There's my jar. And I'm just going to fill it. So I get my stick and just make sure all the chilies have oil. I'm gonna put more. So you're just gonna layer. And the reason why you don't do this, fill it up and then put the oil, is because I want to make sure that all the chilies have been covered in that oil. I hope you don't hear my outside noise too much. I have my sliding door open to let some fresh air in. There. And then we just continue. Continue. And you want to make sure it's full, so where the peppers are covered. You always want to make sure your peppers are always covered. So that's what that looks like. I'm gonna move all of this so you can see. So now you're going to wipe the rim, just because we probably made a mess. You're gonna put your lid on, and your ring. And there you have it, all done. This is shelf stable. You can put, if you feel more comfortable, you could put this in the fridge, or you can put this in your cold cellar. I keep it in my cold cellar. My mother-in-law just keeps it on her shelf. So yeah, there we have it, Italian chili peppers in oil. Now it doesn't have to be in a mason jar, because this is it. You can use an old pickle jar, you can use any type of jar, as long as it's clean, sanitized, and you cover the chilies in oil. I'm just using a mason jar because that's what I have. I don't have any pickle jars or whatever, but if you have old jars, my mother-in-law uses jam jars, pickle jars, whatever jars that you have on hand. So you can keep your jars to save for this purpose. Now I'm gonna go into question and answer. Okay, question 1. What happens if I have leftover chilies and it's not enough to fill a jar? Well, this one is full that we showed you. This one is not quite as full. That's okay. As long as you cover them with oil, it doesn't matter. As long as they're covered, doesn't matter. So even if your jar, you only had this many peppers, as long as you put a little bit of oil on top to submerge it, it doesn't matter if there's an airspace there. The next question is, why do I have to wash off the salt? is that even necessary? Well, yes, usually it's a good idea to rinse off that excess salt lightly before you submerge the chilies in the vinegar. It isn't necessary, but there are some caveats by not doing so. You really need that vinegar to penetrate the chilies for preserving. So why we rinse? There's a few reasons. Preventing over saltiness. Salted chilies can become extremely salty if you skip the rinsing step, and it might not taste good. It also balances the flavor. Vinegar pickling is more palatable when the salt is reduced, so it's better tasting. And it also provides even pickling, because if you have too much salt, it can inhibit the vinegar from fully penetrating the flesh of the chili. So yes, it is a good idea to rinse your chili slightly in the second step. Next question, can I add garlic to this recipe? Well, traditionally, the way you see it now is how my husband's family makes it. There's no other additional inclusions. How you see the recipe is how we make it. However, I can understand the curiosity and wanting to add extra flavor. So let's step back and think about it for just a minute. You need to acidify garlic for shelf-stable storage. Fresh garlic in oil can support botulism because it creates an anaerobic environment. So to make it shelf-stable, you would want to blanch peeled garlic in the vinegar, the same acidity as the pickling solution, so a 5, 6, or 7%. You'll want to do that for a few minutes. Drain it, and then you can use it in your jar. The vinegar will lower the pH inside the garlic to below 4.6, making it safe at room temperature. Otherwise, you'll have to keep the jars refrigerated for safety if you're using fresh raw garlic. However, you can use dried minced garlic because it's safer than fresh for room temperature storage because there's no moisture left in it. So that reduces the bacterial risk. So it will rehydrate in the jar in the vinegar oil solution, and it will add flavor. And it would be best for shelf-stable jars, especially if you don't want to have to go ahead and blanch the fresh garlic. This is just some food for thought, so you can make the best decision for yourself on what you want to do with garlic. Question, what is the purpose of the oil and does it prevent anything? Well, that's an excellent question. This is where a lot of people kind of get confused. But the purpose of the oil in your salt, vinegar, oil, chili method is not preservation by itself. Instead, the oil mainly plays a protective and sensory role. And what I mean is it's an oxygen barrier. So the oil creates a seal over the food, and that limits the oxygen contact. This slows down the growth of any microbes like mold and yeasts, and the vinegar prevents them from growing. It also prevents the surface oxidation and keeps the colors bright and reduces any rancid flavors in your chili oil. It also is a flavor carrier, so the oil will absorb all that chili heat and that aroma if you decide to use garlic or not. And it creates a chili-infused oil. It makes the preserved chilies taste richer and gives flavored oil that you could use in your cooking. You could use it to stir fry or put it on, my husband loves to drizzle it on his pizza. And it also gives you texture and mouthfeel. The chilies keep supple instead of drying out, and the oil coating adds a silky texture, and it mellows out the acidity from what we soak the chilies in when you eat it. But I want to give you an important safety note. Chili does not kill or inhibit bacteria, especially dangerous anaerobic ones like botulism. If you put fresh chilies or garlic straight into the oil without acidification, that means soaking it in that vinegar, you create the perfect low oxygen environment for botulism spores to grow. That's why we add the salt to remove moisture And then we vinegar, because the vinegar steps are essential before the oil. So in short, the oil protects it from the air exposure and makes the product even more delicious. Salt and vinegar actually prevent the microbial growth. Oil is the finishing layer, not the preservation method. Another question I had was, well, can I use herbs? So this is oregano. So can you put herbs inside? Dried herbs versus fresh herbs. Well, dried herbs are safer for long storage. There's no extra water in them, so there's less chance of microbial growth. The flavor is concentrated and it's stable. Fresh herbs are fine if you store it in the fridge with the chilies fully submerged in the vinegar oil, but they'll reduce the shelf life and can introduce microbes if stored at room temperature. So if you want to try herbs, I suggest using dried herbs. Food for thought. So if you decide to use fresh herbs and fresh garlic in this recipe and keep it in the fridge, the vinegar with the oil and the salt is 3 to 6 months around, sometimes up to 9 months if it's fully submerged and stored at around 4 degrees Celsius. That's like 40 Fahrenheit. But check it regularly. Watch for cloudy oil or cloudy vinegar, any mold, off smells, or small white harmless film that kind of goes on top. That's called comm yeast, and that can appear, but it's safe to just kind of like remove that. So if you use fresh garlic and fresh herbs, you're gonna put it in the fridge. So but if you do it the way I have it and possibly use dried herbs and dried garlic for flavor, you should be okay to store it on the shelf. Another question that I had is, how long does this last on the shelf? Usually we keep it for a year on the shelf. It never lasts that long because my husband eats it all up. But you can keep it on the shelf for a year. My mother-in-law has hers on the shelf for 2 years and it's fine and we consume it. But I would say, always, take a look to see if there's anything growing in there. But if you've done everything correctly, we've had no issues and we have had it on the shelf for up to 2 years. A year definitely, because we go through it, that stuff by the time we just finished. So I did this around the same time last year because that's when all the peppers are ready in my area, in my zone. So we did it around the same time last year and we just cracked open. I'll go grab it. My husband, we had pizza the other day and he cracked open our last jar. And you'll see there's a mark on the lid because I don't put a new lid on this because I'm not boiling it. Like I'm not canning it. So I just used an old lid that I had. I just made sure it was clean. So this is from last year. Oh, if I can open it. My husband closes it so tightly. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So these are the chilies from last year. See the red chili? No different. Colors are all the same still. So the oil really preserves the color. It changes a little bit, but not that much. And this oil, like, you want to let it sit for a bit because at first this oil is just going to taste like oil. But this oil, ooh, it's spicy hot. Like, I'm going to show you how much I can consume. It's a clean knife. I literally go like this and drizzle it. That's how hot it is. These Calabrian chilies. Now, what if you don't have Calabrian chilies? Well, use jalapenos, use habaneros, use serranos, whatever hot peppers that you have, go ahead and use it. You can do that. Another question. Well, why are you saying to use canola oil and vegetable oil and corn oil and sunflower oil? Those are seed oils. Aren't seed oils bad for you? Well, this recipe wasn't intended to be a health food recipe. I'm going to be honest. This recipe was intended to have your crops that you grew preserved for the winter. You could use avocado oil too. It is meant to preserve your food, and everyone should have access and the ability to preserve food. If someone does not have the funds to go and get organically first pressed oil, single origin, whatever, and spend $30 on a liter of olive oil to preserve an entire harvest, that makes food preservation inaccessible to everyone. If you want to use expensive oils and you can afford that, go ahead, power to you. But not everybody has access to that. And in my opinion, everybody should have the access and the ability to be able to preserve food so they can survive and they can eat in the winter, especially with right now with the economic times that we're in, and the food scarcity that we have, and shortages and transportation issues and all that stuff. And more people are wanting to learn how to preserve their harvests. Use what you have and what you can afford. To each their own. If you want to use expensive oils, go ahead. If you want to use, cheap olive oil, go ahead. You want to use canola oil? Go ahead, use it. No one's going to say, and it's not like you're chugging this. The amount that you use is very little. Like you're not using a lot of this on your food. So I wouldn't even consider it as an issue. But to each their own, and I wanted to address that question because I had that question pop up twice. So anyway, I hope you do try this recipe. There are going to be more recipes to come about preservation on this channel. So I do hope you try these recipes. So I made this last year, this video. It went viral, and it has, I can't remember, 23,000, 28,000, something like that views. And I had questions. People came and asked me questions about it. So I wanted to do an updated video with those questions. So hopefully that helps you. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you stick around because there's lots more to come. Take care, friends. Thank you. Bye. Mwah!